Afternoon. You've got the weather for it. Hopefully you won't require it.
And there he is. That's Jez talking to you from that little red and yellow twin-engine Eurocopter helicopter. That's Bob flying through. That's what this show is all about. They can't spare us any more of their time than just...
Phil's come past there, dipping his left wing.
On the 45-degree line, and then watch them roll out as they come down. So they are rolling out in formation. Now the next half Cuban on the main display. Rolling out, and finally on the B axis going away from us. As they finish their final half Cuban, and the next thing I expect to see is a mirror pass. Mustang was really instrumental in establishing Allied air superiority. Here it is. What an absolutely magic sound, the Packard Merlin. Alistair K. handling this aircraft, called Ferocious Frankie. Because B7H, these are the colours of Wallace E. Hopkins, and he called his aircraft Ferocious Frankie in honour of his wife. B7H, you'll see it on the side. And that is the absolutely classic Mustang sound of the wind whistling in the gun ports. At least that's what I believe it is. Nobody seems quite clear. There it is again. So that B7H was for the 374th Fighter Squadron, 361st Fighter Group. And these colours with the yellow front end of the aircraft and the yellow propeller spinner. And if you look when she comes by again for the black and white invasion stripes on the wings and the lower fuselage. Little aeroplane, 50 of them were built in the next year, but after that they stopped. When the war came along, the Air Ministry impressed 23 of them. That's to say, they took them over, took them into military service as comms aircraft. This very aeroplane, I have to tell you, was the aircraft on the station flight here at Abingdon during the war, 1941. Station flight at Royal Air Force Abingdon, 1941 and 2. This is the only Miles Whitney Strait left flying in the speed of 207 miles an hour, so it's nearly double the speed of the RAF specified. Mitchell then began designing a new single-seat fighter with a performance far exceeding the Air Ministry's requirements. And the Air Ministry then issued a new specification accepting the Mitchell proposals. And RAF serial K5054 flew from Eastleigh Airport on the 5th of March 1936, starting out the first flight of this absolutely amazing aeroplane. Our 1936, the Jim Skeets has changed into Trevor Bailey, who was also from the same organisation, the other man who actually stop.
They're coming towards you now. Now watch out for the brake. One aircraft right, one left, crossing over.
Brake, go.
Magnificent.
D-Day and Arnhem veteran. It's got a lot of war wounds from Arnhem. We've got about 42 bullet holes on it. So the Germans didn't like it very much. But that was when he was in the Royal Air Force service. She served in 3 air forces, the USAAF, then the Royal Air Force, and then for about 20 or 30 years in the Royal Canadian Air Force in the far north of Canada.
So a real wartime veteran.
Very much so, yes. When she was with the Canadians, she also was fitted with skis and JATO rockets to get her airborne in 70 or 80 yards.
Jet-assisted takeoff.
Jet-assisted takeoff, and the brackets are still in the belly, they're still there. And I still have the JATO switches in the cockpit in case we ever decide to put rockets on it. The cost of aviation fuel nowadays is a lot cheaper to fly with rockets.
Trevor Bailey nodding his head there.
But she is very, very much an historical aircraft, and it's nice to be flying. We didn't fly last year. We had a year off, and I've saved up all my pennies again and thought, right, we'll blow the lot on another year's flying this year.
Excellent. Well, we're delighted that you did. And she's got the Dragamoot on the nose. Tell us about that.
Dragamoot, yes, was painted on by her first commander in 1944, an American, and the aircraft was fitted with very, very rare glider pickup equipment, which meant that it was designed to go and recover gliders from the landing zones in Normandy, and this was a very dangerous.
You guessed it. It's a flick. That's an avalanche, sometimes known as a Porteous loop, designed originally by Ranald Porteous, great test pilot. Now, a stall turn coming up, but a different one. Hesitation. He's holding it in halfway round the stall turn. And he's holding it actually halfway round now, and then 3/4 of the way round. So a hesitation stall turn, I don't think I've ever seen one of those before. Sean Kimberley's best. Barrel roll as he goes away from us and heads onto the B axis. And then pulling up as he goes away on the far side of the airfield. He'll be
Down, and then you'll be able to see his landing lights as they face us in a second.
and coming in for another of those Canadian brakes, but this time heading straight for us. So he'll roll it through 270 degrees and end up turning the other way. And we get E2R getting on the right way up.
Yeah, we make a little bit of a deal about this E2R. We tried to think of a theme this year for the display, and we came up with the Queen's Cipher to hopefully commemorate the Queen's Jubilee and Diamond Jubilee in some style throughout the season.
And half a barrel roll now. Now, I was for this yesterday to something called a 360 MPRT. I know MRT means maximum rate turn. What's an MPRT, Rich?
Yeah, unfortunately the engine's not that powerful, so we need to actually use gravity to help us speed up so we can actually turn quite tight and keep the speed up. So if he actually did it level, he'd run out of energy and go quite slow. So to keep the speed up and a bit more exciting, and there's the E2R again.
And that engine you were talking about, the Garrett's TPE turboprop, about 1150 horsepower, that ought to be enough, really. You think it's not?
It's enough for every day, but obviously he's trying to put up on quite some nice tight turns in for everybody. When we're actually back in the base training the students, it's enough for them.
Good. And that's what this airplane does, basic training for fast jet students.
Absolutely. They start on the grub tutor that you saw Kimbo fly, then they move on to the Tucano.
And here he's upside down and about to do some rolls and end up upside down again.
Yeah, just some slow rolls there. And once he's finished on the Tucano, they do about 9 months, 120 hours, and then they move on to the Hawk that you saw earlier today.
Those supermatics at Wrencombe in the Cotswolds. You should wave to the girls every time they come past. They can see you very clearly. just that sound of the short propellers going supersonic at their tips. And there she is, Carl Schofield, in the magnificent Hurricane 1. Identification UPW, Uncle Peter William. Hurricane designed by Sidney Cam. The wonderful Sidney Cam is a monoplane version of the Fury biplane. His original plan had fixed undercarriage and a Goshawk engine, but soon developed into this Merlin engine. Magnificent beast. When Sidney Cam introduced the retractable undercarriage, he made the wheels retract inwards. And this was quite significant because it meant that when they were down, it had quite a wide track undercarriage, which makes the aircraft stable on the ground. Unlike the Spitfire, whose wheels retract outwards, and therefore it has a narrow track undercarriage, so it's much more unstable on particularly on a grass airfield. So the prototype Hurricane flew from Brooklyn since 1935. The Air Ministry ordered 600 of them. At the start of the Battle of Britain in August 1940, the RAF had 2,309 Hurricanes and only 1,380 Spitfires. There's 32 squadrons of Hurricanes and 19 of Spitfires. And this very aeroplane, that actual aeroplane flying in front of us, is the only Hurricane left flying that actually fought in the Battle of Britain. So the slow-speed handling things that make the wing offer more lift at low speed, and that wide track of the undercarriage, making it nice and stable on the ground for taxiing on rough ground, on grass runways. Quite an early Merlin engine, this one.
Not recording.
Rather smooth, classic turboprop sound. San Diego Padres. And this is where it all started. Now here are the floats coming down at the wingtips. So that's for alighting on the water. Most seaplanes before this time had their floats permanently down, which was very draggy, lots of air resistance. Mack had the idea of making these floats retractable. So when you see them go up again, you'll see them fold neatly back into the wingtips and become part of the wingtip. Now we were talking about the fact that the wing is high on a pylon above the fuselage with the engines there. So the engines are in quite a strange position in relation to the cockpit. And that means that the throttles for the engine, the two throttles, which are normally in most airplanes on a little central console between the two pilots, they're actually in the roof of the cockpit, so the pilot has to reach up to the throttles. Derek Head is the left-hand guy in the left-hand seat, the captain, and Spiny Norman is the co-pilot. Spiny, of course, after the excellent Spiny Hedgehog called Spiny Norman. There are the floats going up and retracting back into the wingtips. All Normans in the Navy are known as Spiny. In fact,